Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning. The government to toughen Firearms Act. The law to target holders of ghost guns. Another man on bail murdered. And in our discussion today, Haitian Flag Day is coming up. We're talking about the true history of Haiti. What you know and what you don't know might surprise you. That's all ahead. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's there. It's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Friday, May 17th, 2024. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. That's all straight ahead, but first it's time for the overnight. The latest breaking news from while we're sleeping and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, a man on bail murdered in Baintown. Police saying the victim, who was 22 years old, and another man in his 20s were driving in a silver car on Ferguson Street around 3 p.m. when a silver Japanese vehicle obstructed their path. When the victims brought their car to a stop, 3 gunmen got out of that vehicle. Police say 2 of the men were armed with handguns, and 1 was armed with a high-powered rifle. Police say the victims attempted to run, but were both shot after a short chase. 1 of the men died at the scene. The other was taken to the hospital where his condition not known at this time. The deceased was known to police and was being electronically monitored. Police recovered a loaded weapon from him as well. It's the 51st murder for the year. Meanwhile, the government has plans to amend the firearms law to include a wider coverage of illegal weapons such as 3D printed guns and those assembled from home kits. Attorney General Ryan Pinder saying the new law may also restrict people with criminal backgrounds, substance abuse issues, or mental health disorders from obtaining a gun license. The government is also considering implementing a requirement for a gun owner to complete a gun safety course in order to get their firearm license renewed. The new law would target so-called ghost guns, which are firearms put together through a gun kit or assembled from 3D printed parts. Minister of Health, Dr. Michael Darville, says no decision has been made yet on Chinese labor, the Chinese labor component that will come with the $290 million concessional loan from China Export-Import Bank to construct a new hospital in New Providence. The government secured a 20-year loan at an interest rate of 2%. Darvel says you don't get funding from China without a recommended Chinese contractor, which is state-owned. In the House Assembly on Wednesday, former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, who previously served as Minister of Health, questioned how many Chinese workers will be used to complete the project. 8 students from Bishop Michael Eldon Anglican School in Freeport had to be hospitalized after lightning struck a tree on the school's campus. Lightning struck that tree near the school's computer lab as students lined up yesterday to enter class. According to a student who witnessed the event, the nearby students fell to the ground with blood draining from their ears. In a statement, the Public Hospitals Authority said all of the students are clinically and neurologically stable and are undergoing tests at the Rand Memorial Hospital. A 57-year-old American remanded to prison as he awaits trial on charges of indecent assault, indecent exposure, and assault. Prosecutors allege that Michael Beauregard of Fort Lauderdale indecently assaulted a woman and exposed himself to the same woman on May 14th here in New Providence. Beauregard is accused of assaulting a boy on the same date. He pleaded not guilty to the accusations when he appeared before Assistant Chief Magistrate Karen Vogue Evans and was denied bail. His trial is set for July 4th. Overseas, as soaring violence and political turmoil grip neighboring Haiti, the Dominican Republic will hold elections Sunday that have been defined by calls for more crackdowns on migrants and finishing a border wall dividing the countries. Politics in the two Caribbean nations sharing the island of Hispaniola have long been intertwined. Haiti's spiral into chaos in recent years has coincided with a harsh crackdown by its Dominican neighbor. President Luis Abinader, a clear frontrunner, as he seeks re-election in the presidential race. He's begun to build a Trump-like border wall along Haiti's border and carried out mass deportations of 175,000 Haitians just last year. Dominicans will also be choosing members of Congress. Abinader saying in a debate in April, quote, "We will continue to deport everyone who is illegal from any country. A society that doesn't do that is chaos and anarchy." Abinader has also pledged to strengthen the nation's economy, said he would finish construction of the border wall with Haiti. His closest competitors have echoed his calls to ramp up the actions against migration. In sports, just who will play for the Bahamas at the Olympics? If you make it, the Bahamas is on the verge of a major breakthrough in men's basketball. The program has just one hurdle in its way to the Olympic Games. The FIBA Olympic Qualifying Tournament, July 2nd through 7th in Spain. Bahamas must win that 6-team tournament to qualify for the Paris Olympic Games in men's basketball, thereby making basketball the first team sport for the Bahamas to qualify ever for the Olympics. At the FIBA Olympic pre-qualifying tournament last summer, 3 NBA players helped the Bahamas to get past Argentina. In Argentina, twice, second time in the gold medal game of the tournament to punch their ticket to the final Olympic qualifier. At the time, Argentina was the number 4 ranked team in the world and is now at number 8. DeAndre Ayton, Giovanna Buddy Hield, and Eric E.J. Gordon led Team Bahamas to the gold in that pre-qualifying tournament. And they were supported by professional players from throughout the globe. The question now, who will represent the Bahamas in Spain in July? BBF President Eugene Horton says they expect to name a workout squad in short order. It's just 46 days before the start of the Olympic qualifying tournament. And from the NBA, the Minnesota Timberwolves forcing a Game 7 by blowing out the Denver Nuggets 115-70 behind 27 points from Anthony Evans. That's sports, and that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. Got your first look at weather brought to you by Easy Car Sales. We've got a frontal boundary that continues to linger across the northwest Bahamas and bringing showers. Meanwhile, high-pressure ridging continues to dominate weather over the rest of the country. Everybody's being advised to limit outdoor activities and to remain hydrated as high heat indices are expected again, along with very high UV index during peak hours of the day. And that relatively dry air mass saddled across the islands will again enhance conditions for brush fires. And that can also reduce air quality and visibility. Your forecast for today for the northwest Bahamas: partly sunny, hot and humid with a few isolated showers and the chance of offshore thunderstorms. Increasing cloudiness expected tonight with a few stray showers possible. Wind southwest to west at 10 knots or less across the northwest Bahamas, seas 3 feet or less. For the central southeast Bahamas, mostly sunny and hot with a stray shower possible today. Mostly fair and warm with stray showers possible tonight. Wind southeast to south at 10 knots or less in the central and southeastern islands, 3 feet or less for seas. Temperatures right now in Nassau about 81 degrees. We're looking at highs getting up to 94 Fahrenheit, 35 Celsius. But the heat index will be in the triple digits, around 103 Fahrenheit, 40 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to a very warm 80 Fahrenheit, 27 Celsius. That's your first look at weather this morning. We'll have your extended outlook coming up after traffic in just a bit. This first look at weather brought to you by Easy Car Sales. Are you shopping for a new car? Before you decide, compare. Easy Car Sales invites you to try an electric vehicle. Take a test drive. You'll love the smooth, powerful ride and the big savings. Dump the pump and drive electric. You will never go back to gas. Drop into Easy Car Sales on Gladstone Road or visit easy242.com to find out more. It's time for break, but when we come back, we're discussing the day's top stories right here on Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Your home for fresh news and smart talk all day.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Looking to elevate your gadget game or a tech trouble simply slowing you down? Escape to a world of innovation at Custom Computers, your go-to store for the latest cutting-edge tech. Whether you need to upgrade your life with the best from Apple and Windows or your device needs a little TLC, the Custom Computers Know-How Store is the destination for unbeatable expertise and quality repairs. With 2 convenient locations, there's a Custom Computers near you on Patton Street in Palmdale and Caves Village, or call 396-1100.
Ready to save? You can put $100 into the CFAL Savings Express Plan and make sure your money keeps growing. Earn interest on your savings while you're sleeping, eating, or standing in line at the bank. Ready to invest? Start by putting $1,000 into our mutual funds and earn interest there too. Because at CFAL, your interest is our interest. Visit CFAL.com to start now. CFAL. Growing wealth for future generations of Bahamians.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
Simplify lending's how to ease your way. Writing your tomorrow, starting today. Call Simplify Lending for simplified living. Tuition, vacation, or a home redo. Simplify Lending's here for you. Simplify Lending for simplified living. Simplify Lending for simplified living.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome back to Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan with you on this Friday morning. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at MorningBlend969 or Facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Text us 422-4796. Standard text rate supply. Coming up this morning, we're going to be talking about the history of Haiti. Yes, Haiti. And Haitian Flag Day coming up this weekend. But how much do you really know about the history of this country and the challenges they're having and the challenges that we're having as a result of that? We're going to get into all of that this morning with historian Christopher Davis. Beginning our 8 o'clock hour into our 9 o'clock hour. So that's coming up. But before that, we have a lot to talk about in the news. And in the news, we had a little bit of rain yesterday, but definitely not enough to do anything about the dry conditions we have been seeing the last few months. And the Department of Meteorology warning that relatively dry air mass is still saddled across the country, and that means the brush fire risk is still elevated. And that means that air quality and visibility can be reduced. Already getting reports that the Coral Harbor area is full of smoke. So it could be another long day out in western New Providence and some of the other islands that have been experiencing bushfires the past few weeks. So keep that in mind today. All right. So the big headline, the Nassau Guardian, government to toughen Firearms Act. We're going to get to that in just a second, just a bit. Before we do that, there's been another murder. I want to talk about that before we get into that discussion about the Firearms Act. Take a listen to this report from our Destiny Johnson.
A man is dead and another man in his late 20s is in hospital following a double shooting on Ferguson Street. The incident was reported around 3:45 Thursday afternoon. Chief Superintendent Chrislyn Skipping says the two victims were traveling east on Ferguson Street when they were ambushed as they approached the intersection.
It is reported that three masked males, two of whom had handguns, one of whom had a high-powered weapon, exited their vehicle and opened fire on the victim's vehicle, which resulted in the two males attempting to flee. They exited their vehicle and were pursued by the three masked males, which resulted in them being fatally shot multiple times. One of the victims succumbed to his injury on scene. The other victim was taken to hospital where at present his condition is unknown.
Both victims were known to police and the deceased was armed at the time of the incident. The scene was crowded with residents and children, some of whom were making their way home. Skipping said criminals do not care who is in their path.
You know, your children involved in gang activity, criminal activity, it's going to end up on your doorstep. It will. Afternoon, like the school is just out. Kids are traversing the streets. No care, no concern. That's why you have to partner with your Royal Bahamas Police Force. That's why you have to give us the information. We have to protect the young people of this country and give them a chance at life. We can only do it if we work together. We must collaborate. They have no care, no concern. And again, I reiterate to parents, if you fail to do what you ought to do with your children, this will be their fate.
Local activist and pastor Carlos Reed was on the scene of the incident, pleading with men to take back control of their communities.
All of those years, some of y'all live in some of these communities all your life, man. You gotta let these little punks come up and run your street. Well, some of these fellas on the side and have a hard conversation with these brothers there, man. You ain't tired seeing our young brothers getting killed in the street. Our young brothers them end up in jail. But you gotta have a heart, baby. Our heart is.
He is encouraging young men to think about their future.
Okay, if you're watching this right now, you're a young person. You gotta think about your destiny. Where it is that you want to be in the next 5, 10 years. I believe that this country offers some excellent opportunities, but you can't subscribe to the wrong system if you want to be able to be successful in this country. Yes, everything is not going to go the way that you think that it should go. But I believe that if you was to find yourself, well, you could find opportunities.
Reporting for Guardian News Network, I'm Destiny Johnson.
Okay, so this is a daily story here, right? What is the issue? What's not connecting? Are the parents not doing like the police keep appealing? Is that what's happening? Are the young people not listening to this at all? They totally reject anything an older person says? What is really happening? Is it a war, and no matter what we say or do, nothing's going to change? What is the issue? And again, the guns. Why is it so easy for everybody to have a gun? Who's not telling the truth? Who's not really explaining what's going on here? What are we missing? 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. Call us toll free. 242-300-5720. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us. 422-4796. This now makes the murder count 51. 51 for the year. These two were in their 20s. The one who died was 22 years old. Life hasn't really started yet. What we say is nothing. They laugh at us. They don't hear it even. Do they know that there are other ways to be living in this country? Something's not connecting. What am I missing? What are we all missing? Are the parents really incapable of reaching what has made these sweet little kids grow up to be crazy teenagers who just are doing whatever they want at any cost, any means? They just trying to live everything all their lives in 22 years. What's happening? Explain it. 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. We'll get their text messages in just a bit. 422-4796. But let's take this call. Good morning, caller. Can you explain it?
Yeah, when you pass the rehabilitation center, I'm saying the Foxhill Police Station, I think you should call it Majesty's now. It's probably His Majesty's. I don't know. They might as well call it another name.
BDOCS, Bahamas Department of Correctional Services.
That's what it is.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Mm-hmm. I know you always could help me out.
Okay.
They have this thing saying rehabilitation for reintegration. Do we have a spreadsheet or some kind of report as to how many men who pass through there are being reintegrated? I mean, are we getting that report? No. Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
Well, do we know what that means? Do we know what that means?
Yeah, of course. I know. I think I know what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. But you don't want to go there. But
no, I actually do. And okay, so they said this person was known to police. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm not mixing this up with another case, right? No, yeah, right. The deceased was known to police and was being electronically monitored. Yep, that again. but out on bail. And so what does that mean? And what can you do when you are out on bail? Can you go back to school with the ankle monitor? If you need a police certificate, are you able to get that to go to class or something, to get into a program? Will anyone hire you if you're wearing that?
Life is very difficult for you once you've been there.
So we just box them into this life of madness, basically.
Yeah, and then hope that they just don't be around, I guess. But, right, you know what we need to be careful with? We need to be careful with the power of the word. What we say to children, and I always target children because I love children, when they're growing up. And you may know there was a time when Christ was walking and he wanted to give the Greeks a story. He saw this fig tree that wasn't bearing any fruit. It only had leaves. And he spoke to the tree. And the tree withered up and died right on the spot. Now, I mentioned to, I think it was Pearlie yesterday, that I have this tree in my yard, the soursop tree. And I threatened the tree that I can cut it down if you don't. But listen, this tree carrying on bad with soursops after I threatened that tree. You hear me? So the power of the word, I think we need to speak to these children, not threatening.
Oh, I was going to say, is that so?
Yeah, I know. See, I know where you were going already. I mean, we have
because you could have said nice things to the tree.
Yeah, but
like,
no,
come on,
yeah,
please.
but you see, this tree, I do both.
Oh, okay.
But I was a little upset, and the tree responded. So, because we need to know that the actual head of the tree is in the ground, and the leaves of the trees are solar panels. We need to keep them panels clean, apart from the nitrogen, what the tree needs and the potassium. But we need to speak to our children in such a way that they could absorb it and bring good fruit. And I think the problem is we rile kids, instead of growing with them, we try to grow them up and hope that they will just become somebody. But we need to grow up with them.
Yeah. But also, I'm sure you fertilize your tree, right? Good quality fertilizer. Too many of us are dumping garbage on the tree and expecting wonderful stuff to grow.
And now how do we fix that? How do we get people to sit down with these kids? Because, I'll tell you something, Dwight. Like I always talk about these girls I adopt. One of them, at the age of 9, she went from, I'm hungry. That's all I used to hear her say. And then she went to a period now where she said, my body is changing, which means I know how to help her with that. And now she's at the point now where she's asking me if I have any food. Now, this I didn't understand clearly. But she keeps saying, you have any food? And I always said yes. But when I say yes, she never came for the food. And now I realized that she wanted to know if I needed food. So I said to myself, let me just say no. Her and her mother came with groceries. You see how this thing goes when you bring them up?
Nice.
Okay, boy. Take it easy.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Well, okay. Let's take another call. Good morning. Help us understand what's going on here.
Morning, Dwight. How you doing?
Doing well.
Are you soloing this morning?
I am, yes.
Okay, so I guess good morning to you. I wanted to make 2 points this morning on the subject. First one is there is a direct relationship between weapons, power, and powerlessness. And I think to the extent that the intermediate space between where one goes from having a feeling that they have a degree of control over the circumstances to becoming fully powerless in the situation is where we find our young people. And if we make an observation, a lot of the play that we see taking place is young people trying to exercise power over something by violence and by force. The question is, as a society, how do we seek to address helping our young people appreciate that they can have control over situations without resorting to extreme violence by way of weapons? I noticed that the police liaison officer, Skipping, made reference to parents. And I think that to the extent that she's 100% correct that there is a direct connection between the kids' parents and the outcome that we see, we are missing the fact that parenting in the Bahamas is lacking. There's a lot of these kids don't have parents. They don't have parental guidance. The question is, what is the comprehensive strategy to address the lack of parenting or the lack of access to proper parenting in the country? And until we provide, kids were not meant to raise themselves, and until we fully address the fact that a significant percentage of our community, kids are raising themselves, that has to be addressed. The other point that I wanted to make was just the other day there was a substantive interdiction on weapons made in the country. I'm of the view, Dwight, that the police community would have made an announcement much too early on that weapon, stash of weapons that they found. I believe that, yes, the public has a right to know certain things, but if you found that amount of weapon yesterday or day before yesterday, I would want to conclude that investigation is still at a very sensitive stage, because the person who has the weapons is likely not the only person involved in that particular situation. Mm-hmm. And so to the extent that the police announced that they would have found these weapons, they indicated to some extent who the person was and that they were able to go to the house, I believe it jeopardized the possibility for them to even determine who the other players are, to also try to use that situation to determine who the suppliers are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that we probably need to take another look at, once we find these weapons as law enforcement, what are you telling the public that is jeopardizing the hard work that you would have already done and need to continue doing on the subject of continuing to push back on the trafficking of weapons in the country, and minimize what you say to the public when you have those situations, to fully give yourself the opportunity to get the best results out of those kind of situations.
Okay. All right. I hear you. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Well, it's an interesting one. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they kind of know what they were doing there. Let's hope. Let's take this call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Strachan. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Good morning.
Yes, Mr. Strachan. The other day, like a few weeks back, I had heard, I think it was the U.S. Embassy was giving classes in 3D printing, right? And the first thing came to my mind was like, is there really a demand for that around here? You know what I mean? Like, is there really a place for that? But the second
for 3D printing?
The second thing came to my mind.
Wait, hold on. That was your question? If there was a demand for 3D printing?
I said, what came to my mind? Like, the reason why I said it is because of the agency and the powers that they have, like the ability and the resources that they have, right? So I was thinking to myself that there are many other things that they probably could have offered to teach the children that would have been like more conducive to the society that we live in. You know what I mean? Like we're not like the states that probably has a market for 3D printing.
What?
You know what I mean? Like I said,
do you know what you could print?
I'm not aware of.
You could print
something that is.
You could print furniture. You could print so many things. It's unbelievable what you could do.
You can print so many things, right? And that's why the second thing that came to my mind after wondering if we have that, like a market for that, like if we have a demand for that, was I know that they can print weapons. That's the second thing that came to my mind. I was like, well, you know what I mean, considering the mindset of the people over here, because they were teaching the younger children. I mean, children, you know what I mean, if you're teaching a bunch of children to do 3D printing, I mean, come on, I mean, one of the things that is possible for them to be printing will be arms, right?
Well, it depends on the type of children, because I'm pretty sure, I mean, I don't mean to sound like this, but I'm pretty sure I would never have been thinking about printing a gun.
Yes, come on, Dwight. I mean, like, we can listen to you and see that you are real, clean cut, necktie, straight up to the top, schoolboy. You know what I mean?
I don't know how to take that, but okay.
Not everyone has
Thank you.
Not everyone has that ideal mindset that you have in terms of, your respect for your fellow human beings and just that willingness to do good and do right. Everyone doesn't have that mindset, Dwight. Some people, unfortunately for them, they come up in a world where certain lifestyles and certain attitudes is something that they aspire to. That's all they know. You know what I mean? To the music they listen to, the movies they watch. You know what I mean? Everything is just like they are just always constantly in that type of thing. So but like I said, one of the things that came to my mind was that the printing of arms, because I've seen on YouTube where individuals print all type of weapons with 3D printing. I'm not talking about just handguns, but they actually print like long guns too, right? And so I mean, like I said, I just thought it was odd, and I mean, so I wasn't surprised to hear the government having some type of reform to include ghost guns in the law. Because I mean, like I was saying, I would have expected them to anticipate that from that time and even put the law in before they even had those classes. I mean, because like I said before, I just feel as if that there are other things that they could have taught them other than that thing, because, where can they automatically just go and use that to make money? They can probably have to create that for themselves, and that takes a different mindset also, you know what I mean,
So-
to be able to create the market for your thing.
But that isn't hard to address, though. I mean, to get to them to see that this can open you up to so many possibilities.
Yes, I understand that, Mr. Strong, but like I said, Mr. Strong, just like how you said, you don't have the mindset to do certain evil things, right? And we know that we have like a D level society, right? So that means that we're not really critical thinking individuals, right? So we're talking about children who are being taught, and they don't really have that guidance to go. Because notice now, even for individuals who want to start businesses and different stuff, they have courses and different things that they teach them and train them how to do certain things. You know what I mean? How to think, how to find your market, how to strategize, all these different things. These are the things that an individual will have to have knowledge of before they could even go and create that market for themselves. Like I said before, it's not like they're gonna be fortunate enough to say be given some kind of government contract, right? And then what the government does is filter all the stuff to them. See, they could win like that. See, some people get that kind of benefit where they start a business and the government just filters all kind of things straight to them, and they don't have to move because things just keep coming in. You know what I mean? But when you got to create it for yourself, that's a different story, and the youth don't have that type of mindset, Dwight. But on top of that, too, lastly, when it comes to this violence around here, Dwight, you know what I mean? I mean, like I said, all of us haven't experienced the same thing growing up, you know what I mean? But you will find many men, right, who had a certain mindset when they were younger, like to do wicked things and bad things, and now that they're older, they sit back and say, well, like, yo, I can't believe I used to think like that. You know what I mean? So when I see individuals, younger individuals doing foolishness, right, I know that there is a chance for them. But what they need is they need some type of enlightenment. They need a new way to look at life. You understand, Dwight? And as young black men in our society, there's nothing that we can really look at coming up that gives us a sense of self, that gives us a sense of cohesiveness, a reason to love each other and to care about each other like as men. There's nothing for us personally. And to make matters worse, when we listen to the radio and different stuff, mostly we hear programs designed to help women. I don't mind that. You know what I mean? I don't mind that. But when you look at society, Dwight, you have more women in college, you know what I mean? More women being employed, all these different stuff. But the men are the ones who are dying on the streets. The men are the ones who are basically hopeless, right? So I would like to see in our country, right, that we at least have more programs, or at least an equal amount of programs that focus on the development and the benefit and the saving of our men, right? That's what we need to do too. Because like I said before, when I turn the radio on, most of the time when they having things to benefit individuals is women. I mean, they even want to push. They even trying to push women into fields that were once dominated by men. I mean, like that's how far they're going.
Yeah,
you know
because
the kind of way, like, you know what I mean. But anyhow, like I said before, right? We need to look at our system, man.
Okay.
And ask ourselves, is the system working for us?
All right. Thank you very much.
You. Have a
Appreciate
good
it.
day.
Hey, that's a lot said there. The kids, I think there are very few exceptions. They're inherently good. It's what they are around and what they see and hear from the adults in their lives or the older people in their lives then make them start to think in those ways that you're talking about. And with the programs, for every program you hear for a woman, there's must be 2 or 3 for men. The women's programs are often newer, and they're trying to promote them. And if you hear them, often they're started by women. So if you think there's a dearth of programs for men just need to get up and start the programs. So I don't know. This is not a good excuse. It's not a good excuse. But so they need to be more vocal about the many, many, many programs out there for men. Okay. I hear you. Let's take some more calls really quickly. We want to get to the text messages as well. And then we're going to talk about this Firearms Act, or the plan to strengthen it. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Are you there? Hello? No? Okay. Let's go to the other call there. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, Dwight. How you doing?
Doing well.
Hey, do you speak, Dwight, have you ever heard of the language Limerick? Lemerig?
Yes.
Okay, there's only 2 people left in the world that speak the language. The point they're making that is that what is happening in our country, and this has been studied in most of the developing world, where the increase of crime has increased, is the fact that we have moved into a new realm of economics. Oftentimes, you've heard me speak about this first hyper-digital, hyper-connected realities revolution, second digital revolution, third technological revolution, fourth industrial revolution, fifth social revolution, sixth extinction revolution, and the sixth innovation cycle. Never in history has all of these cycles ever aligned. This is where we are. And what is happening in third world countries and developing countries like ourselves is the youth has no one to navigate into carrying those. It has been proven, even though people may take the argument that correlation is not deterministic, but lack of digital opportunities have been shown in these countries to be a directly cause of crime. It's an enabling factor. More specifically for us, where we have these socioeconomic stresses, right? Where we have poverty, poor education, lack of community investment, these social support systems that's purely garbage. The point I make is that we are in a new world, a new existence of how economics work, how individuals interact, how we do things, how industries grow. Around the world, we hear them arguing about digital supremacy, AI supremacy, technological supremacy, and we're still talking and fighting with rudimentary educational concepts. And this is the problem that we have, is that we have a limited growth in our economy to actually incorporate these native speakers of the digital language or digital domain. And so we are now suppressing them into socioeconomic conditions that gives them no opportunity, because our leadership doesn't understand that the borders that we used to believe exist have come down. We're not having conversation on growing our economy, expanding our learning ability. We are looking and having conversation on how do we maintain the plantation economic system that has been left in place for us. And so here it is that we have those same individuals in schools that are not given opportunities. And have you seen tourism grown proportionately as it needs to incorporate the people, the plantation? It hasn't. We have a shrinking banking and financial services that we talk about, because that's basically meant digital. And we have not modified our economy. And so now you have individuals, our birth rate hasn't reduced, but we have individuals growing up without opportunities, because the opportunities that's only being creating has not been extended to them by virtue of education and preparedness. Until we have leadership that understands the 21st century reality that we're in, instead of looking back to past, looking to the past rather than building the future, we are going to see it grow proportionately. We have social people who speak, or what we say is that we have to love each other. We have to get the old G's to come together and all these different things. No, These individuals need people to speak their language, to give them pathway for empowerment that extends beyond the archaic, outdated systems that we have adopted in the Bahamas. We need to learn that technology is more than social media. It is the way the world is run right now. And until we change the language, and just look at the date, and let me wrap this up.
Really quickly.
Look at the date. Look at the date they're born. All after 1981. We call that the millennials. 1996 on, we call that the Gen Z. Now we have 210. Going forward, we have the Generation X. We have not prepared ourselves for them to be integrated into anywhere. And so they will be in a system of lack. And they have needs, they have wants, they have the desire. And they says, if you try to dam, eventually it'll break free.
Okay.
What we need to do is redirect them in the direction that they could actually have some value in the system. Thank you so much.
All right. Wow. Thanks a lot. I hear you. Okay. Let's read some messages as we get ready to go to the break. This person says here, it's curious to me that a few months ago when some murders occurred, the police said that victims were being electronically monitored, and it soon followed the oil monitoring company was given a letter to straighten up and fly right or else. Now a company that has the monitoring contract again, has it again, yet electronically monitored. People continue to be murdered. Will this company be told to straighten up and fly right or else? I think the issues were a little bit different, but some other issues there. I don't think you're paying attention closely, but hey. This person says here is a little bit of all, Dwight. Our points of entries are too open. Private house owners can pull up to their houses without being searched. Guns are a big business, just like human trafficking. And in most cases, it's people with connections that are doing this. The outcome doesn't affect them. Children are raising children with no positive role models, and the police are always playing catch-up. The youth see no way out, and they act that way. Wow. And this text before we go, this person says here, what is missing is accountability of the government on its smuggling interdiction efforts. If this was an alcohol epidemic, the focus would be on blocking liquor coming in. So why can't we see real action on stopping the guns and illicit drugs from coming in? It's easy to tell parents watch the kids when we know it's mostly single moms in the hood out there trying to raise the family and survive. The smugglers need to be exposed and cut off. We don't make guns. Well, I mean, there definitely is an interdiction effort. You're saying it should be strengthened, it should be more. Yeah. Okay, we're going to pick this up on the other side. Stay with us. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9.
But at least I look this good. We can't be friends, but I'd like to just pretend. You cling to your papers and pens. Wait until you like me again. Wait for your love, love. I'll wait for your love. I'll wait for your love, love. I'll wait for your love.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
I'm Rita Foley with an AP News Minute. Southeastern Texas again battered by brutal storms. Houston's mayor says at least 4 people are dead. Windows have been blown out of high-rise buildings. Some trees are down. Power went out for hundreds of thousands of people. The storms also knocked out power in parts of Louisiana. Donald Trump's hush money trial is not in session today, but it's back on Monday when Trump fixer-turned-foe Michael Cohen returns to the witness stand. He's put Donald Trump at the heart of the alleged hush money scheme. The AP's Michelle Price in New York on how it's been going so far.
Donald Trump's attorneys were much more aggressive in questioning him than they had been earlier in the trial. They sought to undercut some of his testimony from earlier in the week. Their performance, which was much more aggressive, is not only important for the jury, but it's something that's important to their client. Donald Trump is known as someone who likes his attorneys to be tough and bulldogish, and that's the kind of performance they showed in court.
Donald Trump denies any wrongdoing in the case. I'm Rita Foley.
It's time for your first look at traffic for the morning, brought to you by RBC. Get a no-fee auto loan with up to 100% financing. Getting reports of a smoky situation on Coral Harbor Road. That's northbound there, so keep that in mind. If you're making your way through there, low visibility, or diminished at least. On Carmichael Road westbound toward Coral Harbor Road, seeing some building traffic at this hour. Milo Butler Highway, as usual, a hot spot from south of the Fire Trail roundabout straight up to Tonic Williams Darling Highway if you're heading northbound. And traffic is backing up along Tonic Williams Darling Highway east and westbound toward that roundabout right now. Slow-moving traffic on West Bay Street near Saunders Beach as you're approaching Providence Highway. And Robbins Road getting busy and slowing down westbound just west of the Sold Road intersection on the way to Old Trail. Sold Road is busy for you from that intersection straight through to Bernard Wolf and Village Road if you're heading northbound on Soldier. Bernard Road near the schools in the area, pretty busy there at this hour. And Eastern Road from Fox Hill to about Johnson Road, heavy slow-moving traffic westbound. Prince Charles Drive near the major intersections as well. That's what we're seeing right now. We'll have another update for you after the 8 o'clock news. Morning Blend Traffic brought to you by RBC. Visit rbc.com/carloan/all of you for more information.
RBC. Are you buying a home, renovating, or exploring mortgage options? With cashback and up to 90% financing, we'll find the perfect mortgage for you. Pre-qualify in just 60 seconds and get connected with a mortgage specialist today. Visit rbc.com/mortgages/all of you. RBC. Conditions apply.
Are you seeking exceptional health care beyond the traditional hospital setting? Introducing Doctors Hospital Clinics, your trusted destination for comprehensive care. Our full-service locations provide affordable services through our Loyalty Advantage membership program and NHI. Experience seamless care with our integrated health system, where your medical history travels with you, ensuring continuity of care. Book an appointment today at clinics.doctorshosp.com. We make primary care easy.
Hear what Boss Man was saying in the back there just now?
About what? The luncheon?
Why you always worried about food? No, about how we gotta pay a little more for national insurance.
Mildred, you talking fool. I can't afford to pay that.
And you always crying, palm out. Ain't gonna be much. Boss still gotta pay. 1st of July, 2024.
I think that criminal benefit is what did help my boy Tony through the pandemic. That same unemployment benefit. And guess what?
What?
Susan, I think she'd get a pregnancy benefit, eh?
You mean maternity benefit, eh? So now, we gotta do our part to make sure we get our pension. All right.
For more information, visit nipratencrease.com.
You try to rest, roll with the best. For all your printing needs, there ain't no one better, no. For posters and banners, magazines and flyers, for window decals, greeting cards and newsletters. No job too big and there's no job too small. You name it, we can print it, just give us a call. Let Print Masters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
Maybe it's time to explore your options. There's no harm in reviewing your mortgage arrangement and considering a better deal. CIBC Caribbean can help you narrow your search and decide. Switch your mortgage to CIBC Caribbean and enjoy a special interest rate and help towards your switching cost. Visit CIBCFCIB.com/inspired home for more information. Conditions apply.
In the world world of business, technology is not a choice. It's a necessity. And for businesses that demand excellence, there's only one choice for unparalleled support and cutting-edge technology. Custom Computers. You have challenges and we have solutions. Computing, networking, storage, and printing for enterprises large and small, aligned with premium brands like HP, Microsoft, Konica Minolta, and more. Get tech done the right way with Custom Computers. Call the know-how team at 396-1101.
Maybe it's time to explore your options. There's no harm in reviewing your mortgage arrangement and considering a better deal. CIBC Caribbean can help you narrow your search and decide. Switch your mortgage to CIBC Caribbean and enjoy a special interest rate and help towards your switching cost. Visit CIBCFCIB.com/inspired home for more information. Conditions apply.
You've seen electric cars on the road, but isn't it time you drive one? Easy Car Sales invites you to experience the smooth, powerful ride and immerse yourself in the luxury and latest tech features. Find out why the Bahamas is going electric. Visit easy242.com and book your test drive now. What are you waiting for? Save money, drive smarter. There's an EV waiting for you at Easy Car Sales.
I didn't think you'd understand me. How could you ever even try? I don't wanna tiptoe, but I don't wanna hide, but I don't.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We're streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at MorningBlend969 or Facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Text us on the Guardian Radio text line powered by BTC 422-4796. Standard text rate supply. And now at 8:26, it's time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Sherwin-Williams Paints. Here's what's happening. We've got a frontal boundary that continues to linger across the northwest Bahamas with some showers, but high pressure remains the dominant weather feature across the country today. Everybody's being advised to limit outdoor activities and to remain hydrated as high heat indices are expected, along with very high UV index during the peak sunlight hours of the day. And that relatively dry air mass saddled across the country will enhance conditions again for bush and brush fires, and that will reduce air quality and visibility. So for today, for the Northwest Bahamas, we're looking at partly sunny, hot, and humid conditions with isolated showers and the chance of offshore thunderstorms. Increasing cloudiness expected tonight with a few stray showers. For the central and southeastern Bahamas, mostly sunny and hot with a stray shower today. Mostly fair and warm with a stray shower tonight. It's going to be a hot one today. Highs getting up to around 94 Fahrenheit, 35 Celsius. But the heat index will make it feel like it's 103 Fahrenheit, 40 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to a very warm 80 degrees, 27 Celsius. Right now in Nassau, it's about 84, partly cloudy skies. In your extended outlook for your holiday weekend, we've got the frontal boundary that's going to slide eastwards on Saturday with weak high pressure settling over the area. Another frontal boundary expected near the extreme northwest Bahamas by Sunday evening, bringing another bout of showers to kick off your holiday weekend and into the new week. So for Saturday tomorrow, that's going to be partly to mostly sunny and hot conditions with a few stray showers possible during the day, turning partly cloudy at night. Sunday, variably cloudy and a bit breezy with a few stray showers. Isolated showers and thunderstorms expected by late Sunday afternoon or evening across extreme northwest Bahamas heading into your Whit Monday holiday. That's your morning blend weather check, brought to you by Sherwin-Williams Paints. Sherwin-Williams Paints has got you covered for all your painting and equipment needs. Visit Sherwin-Williams Paints online or in store today. It's time for another check of your traffic for the morning, brought to you by RBC. Get a no-fee auto loan with up to 100% financing. In your real-time traffic this morning, we are seeing heavy traffic on Milo Butler Highway from well south of Bellot Road straight through the Fire Trail roundabout all the way up to Tawny Williams Darling Highway if you're heading northbound. And traffic is backed up along Tawny Williams Darling Highway, Harold Road, east and westbound this morning at this point. 6 Acre roundabout also busy for you, northbound on Milo Butler, east on JFK Drive, southbound New Providence Highway as well, and southwestbound on Farrington Road. And further up north, we've got in the Saunders Beach area, West Bay Street, heavy traffic as you approach the roundabout if you're heading eastbound with New Providence Highway and exiting that roundabout, heading toward Arawak Key, also busy for you right now. Gladstone Road, looking pretty good, though. Manageable. Just as you get closer to Munnings, you're going to see some slow-moving traffic in front of you northbound. Elsewhere, we've got Blue Hill Road, busy near Carmichael and north of Soldier Road. On the way to the roundabout with Independence Drive. East Street, just north of Soldier Road, also busy for you. If you're heading northbound, Robinson Road, slow-moving traffic between Soldier and Old Trail. And Eastern Road, still busy just east of Fox Hill to about Johnson Road. Prince Charles are the major intersections this morning. That's your real-time traffic and your Morning Blend Traffic Alert, brought to you by RBC. Visit rbc.com/carloan/all of you for more information. We are back with Morning Blend on Gardening Radio 96.9. Dwight Strong with you on this Friday morning before we get into the holiday weekend with Monday coming up. All right, so we're going to get back to your text messages about the crime situation and the guns in just a bit. But we want to talk about the big headline in the Nassau Guardian today. Government to toughen Firearms Act. Law to target holders of ghost guns. What is that? Take a listen to this report from our Vonique Toot.
To bring a new firearm act which would boast wider coverage of illegal firearms, including 3D guns, prohibit the acquisition of high-powered firearms, and may restrict certain individuals from being granted licenses. Attorney General Ryan Pinder told the Senate the bill will be all-encompassing and will go a long way to address the scourge of firearms in the country.
The new firearms bill 2024, will have a much wider coverage of illegal firearms, including gun kits, assembling firearms from kits, as well as the production of 3D firearms. Did you know that using a 3D printer, you can print the components of a firearm, assemble it, and have a working firearm? And that is being done in this country right now? Right now. With no legislation that contemplates firearms in that regard. The bill will apply specifically to ghost guns, which are inherently dangerous, are unregulated, have no manufacturer's name attached, no serial number attached, and are impossible to trace. We have those on our streets right now. Guns that are impossible to trace.
50 people have been murdered in the Bahamas so far this year. Guns were used in the majority of those killings. In addition to prohibiting the acquisition of high-powered weapons, the bill will also prohibit assault weapons, submachine and machine guns, and any accessories which may be used to convert a licensed firearm into a prohibited firearm or weapon.
You know, we have persons who have licensed firearms, properly licensed firearms, who then convert them into a automatic type of a weapon or a weapon which is not a licensable firearm. And because we don't have firearm inspections, there's no way for you to actually know that they have done this to a licensed firearm. All you do is renew your license. We will call for routine inspections of licensed firearms.
The Attorney General added the government is considering restricting individuals with criminal records, mental illness, alcohol or substance abuse disorders, and those unable to demonstrate competence by completion of a gun safety course from being granted firearm licenses or the renewal of licenses. He noted the present Firearms Act was enacted in 1969 with numerous piecemeal amendments made up to 2014.
But still none within the last 10 years. Times have changed in the Bahamas. That's not rocket science. Times have changed in the Bahamas. Firearms technology has advanced. And sadly, we have not kept abreast of either.
Pinder said the government will also bring amendments to the National Criminal Intelligence Act
that will create a better framework for the intelligence of ongoing criminal activities in the Bahamas. Intelligence is a fundamental tool to help beat back the scourge of crime, especially organized crime within the Bahamas. So we pass an anti-gang bill that creates a host of serious offenses for being a member of a gang or committing crimes while being a member of a gang. But in order to properly implement that, you need proper intelligence. My law enforcement friend will tell you, intelligence is key and paramount to collecting the evidence necessary to prosecute under these laws we're passing.
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Vonnie Tude.
Okay, let's get your reaction to that. Let's hear from you. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Call us toll free, 242-300-5720. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. Law, again, to target holders of ghost guns, people who are doing 3D printing. And the new law will restrict people with criminal backgrounds, substance abuse issues, or mental health disorders from obtaining a gun license. Okay, let's hear from you. What do you have to say? I have some strong views on this. I don't want to tell you before I hear from some of you. So let me know. So I'm correct, right? So handguns, you have to have a very special license for that. And that's what we're seeing around here, right? People with unlicensed firearms who are committing the crimes. And the Attorney General talking about intelligence, but yet we still have all these guns on the streets. So I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but I'm not sure what this is going to do. With the restricting people with criminal backgrounds. So we're talking mainly right now, the people who have licensed guns, mainly shotgun owners, right? I don't know. Last time I heard of somebody who was drunk or had a mental issue shooting up people with a shotgun. What is going on here? What am I missing? What's happening? And you got to do whatever you have to do. You have to get tough on guns, but is this changing anything? I don't. I hope so, but will it? But the intelligence doesn't seem to be doing anything. We got more guns than people, it seems, here in New Providence. But do it. Do whatever it takes. If enacting this will make it sound like you're serious about guns, even you've got to do it. But I just am a little perplexed. Make me understand. Can you, caller? Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well.
The thing that I have with this whole thing is you're making laws that affect the general populace. If it's 97% of the persons that are law-abiding citizens and 3% that are doing the crime, all of these things that you're doing are aimed towards the law-abiding citizens. Mm-hmm. How about allowing us to protect ourselves?
Okay. So you think that we should expand handgun ownership, or expand who can have a handgun? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Not only handguns, any type of gun, but I'm not talking like AK-47s and stuff like that. There are weapons that you can use to protect your family and your home. You can't just sit down and be a target or be sheep. All of what you're doing doesn't affect the criminals. Mm-hmm. They're getting the guns, regardless of where, when, and wherever. They will get the guns. Us, as law-abiding citizens, you go home, you go to work. You can't protect yourself, and by the time you call somebody to help you, the act is already committed, or you need to go to the hospital or go get psychological treatment. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that you need to concentrate on trying to protect the persons that have homes or property.
Yeah, I mean,
Tupac said, "You provide you provide laws so the police can harass you. You get these intelligent laws. You get to be able to do all kinds of things, but it's not aimed at the people that are actually doing it." Mm-hmm. Because it's ironic that the police can't find these people, but the criminals can find one another.
But how many people are getting shot in the situations that you're talking about? How many people are getting shot in situations like you're talking about, home invasions or robberies? How common is that?
Every time you listen, there's someone almost on a daily basis that, like for the gentleman who stood up for the ladies on the basketball court, there was a gun. He was shot. You have persons that are being robbed. My biggest fear is somebody coming and robbing me, and they're telling me that, you can't defend yourself because you are safely inside your home. When I was in Texas and working in Texas, did you know that I had the lowest break-ins in the United States? Because everybody is allowed to protect their home and be able to protect themselves. Mm-hmm. Down here, we can't. We sit and cower inside our homes and hope that I think the ratio of, I think it was like 55 police supposed to be able to help, I think, thousands of persons. You can't be everywhere every time.
I'm not familiar with the basketball example you gave, but I mean, you don't think that if we had more citizens armed, that we will likely have more people getting shot?
You do what?
You don't think that if we have more citizens armed, that we have more people getting shot?
Hopefully, the criminals.
Okay, so that means more shootouts then?
No, sir. I'm talking about.
Because, they're not going to sit back and allow you to shoot them.
The Wild West. I'm talking about if your home and your home in your house or you're on your property, being able to protect yourself.
Okay. I hear you. It's not a very common thing right now, thank God. But I hear you. All right. Well, that's not what was proposed, but that's what you want to hear. That's what you want to hear from the Attorney General and the government. More access to firearms for protection. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Yes,
your
sir.
call.
Have a good one.
You too. All right, call in and weigh in, folks. Let's hear more from you. Let's get to more of your text messages. This person says here, all right, so this is going back to what a previous caller said here. Folks, I'm very, very disappointed, but I'm not surprised. This person says here, there are programs to give women loans for businesses. That's new, but there are no opportunities for men in this regard. What are you talking about? This person says, you're not sure where you've been over the past few years, but there are many more programs for women than men. Even the UN Sustainable Goals for focuses on women. There's no UN Sustainable Goals that focus on men. Wake up, bro. Oh, my God. Oh, boy. All right. You know, the song, you hear it. It's a man's world. Folks, everything is for men. Everything is for men. Right? They're adding these programs because women were shut out or not allowed to do many of these things, and they're increasingly being allowed to do these things, and they're focusing on people who thought they could never do these things or felt that they had an unfair disadvantage. Right? So it sounds like either you're very young or you're just not paying attention. So this texter talked about loans. I mean, the whole thing, the Small Business Development Center, that's all they do is grants and loans for everybody. But they have felt they need to target women because women were thinking that they couldn't. But all the programs are for everyone. They've said that many times on the show, and that's just one example. The reason, right, it sounds like you want stuff like the NBA or the NFL to put an M in front of it so that you can see that it's not. I don't understand what's happening here. What's going on? They have to put the W there because the NBA has been for men, and now we've got something for the women. So let's put a W in front of it. But do you want M NBA or something? I can't even process my thoughts properly. There's little that men can't do. There's very little that a man will be denied from doing or trying to do. That is the world we live in. And if men are thinking that they are being shut out of opportunities, that's on you, bro. That's on you. That's an excuse. Wow. Okay. Let's get back to the text messages. Everything is for men except for the new hospital. As a texter said yesterday, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that to think that it's not for men, even though it's going to focus on women's health and neonatal and children, is also very selfish because that'll be for all of us. And a lot of half the kids will probably be males, so that's not the right way to look at it. But I mean, what do you all go? Other than, I was going to say something horrible. Other than, no, let me not do that. I'm not going to do it. Let's take this call. Caller, I was going to say, what are men going to the hospital for, other than gunshots and accidents? Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, I can.
Excellent. I listened to the politician once again, putting together a law. It seems like it was a copy from the U.S. society, and you're trying to now apply that here. However, the first thing is you have law-abiding citizens, as the other caller said. They need to protect themselves. So what are you going to do about that? Are you going to allow them to get guns like you as a politician? Or are you going to just turn a blind eye? And then there's the other aspect of you have so many boats from visitors come in to the country unsearched, and they're docked. So if the government themselves don't know who all of these persons are, there's no checks and balances there. isn't that a gateway by which guns can come into the country? I just want to put that on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you very much. Right. Again, what is this intelligence? Because it doesn't seem to be working. Dwight, you're delusional if you can't see that all the resources are being directed to women and LGBTQ. The only programs being developed for real men in caps, is prison and law enforcement. You mean like to go to prison? What are you saying? Okay. Inspection of licensed firearms is pointless. How many crimes have been committed with licensed firearms? This is a waste of time. Multifaceted. The root of the problem is the willingness to do anything for money from Parliament on down. Somebody's making buku dollars looking the other way. In reference to the kids, I don't think they're living in our world. They're literally living in a movie. They're under constant stress. I can't think of any greater stress than thinking anyone could kill you anywhere at any time. They're self-medicating with alcohol and marijuana. They can't handle adversity. I believe the solution is transplanting people, take them out of the movie. But that's another deep thought exercise. You don't want to expose these boys to abuse of any kind. Where is this headed? A day ago, a parent talked about a 9-year-old spray painting walls in their neighborhood. 9. That young man is headed full speed to, I don't want to say, but they better transplant him before he reaches 12. Oh boy. When are we going to realize that some parents will not play their roles? The state needs to step in with tougher laws and penalties with real teeth. And teeth are not concurrent. What do you do when the zookeepers keep on releasing dangerous animals into society? Deal with these animals. What does that mean? What does that mean? Okay. Oh boy. Every time I hear you blaming parents for these young men who make life-changing decisions, because you could talk to them all you want, and not saying that you shouldn't talk to them even in their adult life, but it is still their decisions to take their own life seriously. I mean, when you get to a certain age, right? But a lot of parents are very, very, very lax when they are still at a manageable age, right? No real consequences for actions. I'm not talking about beating, but a lot of people get away with a lot of foolishness at a very young age and think that's how life is going to be. This person says here, what I find amazing is that with all the murder, rape, and crime that's happening in the Bahamas, the government's focus isn't on crime, but on legalizing drugs. Oh, my goodness gracious. Paying people for made-up jobs like crime consultants. But from day one, their emphasis was never on crime, and it was never a priority. Hiding criminals' identity, going to court should have been a clue. That's not what they did either. You're totally off on every single sentence. Good Lord. Okay, so it's not about legalizing drugs. Marijuana, many are saying, and believe it should never have been classified as a dangerous drug. That's what, right? The whole world is moving toward this. Hiding criminals' identity. That's not what they did. They just do not broadcast that they were going to be walking this person through here. But nobody's stopping anybody. If you know who the person is, you can go to the court and take the picture and post it if you wish. That is not against the law. They never stopped anybody. They just, right? A lot of people were accused and had their pictures plastered all over the media, and the cases were dropped because they shouldn't have been charged in the first place, and that wasn't covered. And so to stop that from happening, the police have changed their tactic, but it's not a sinister thing like what you say. If more citizens had guns, more people would get shot, but because the guns they are getting shot with will be in the law enforcement database, hopefully that would deter indiscriminate violence. Okay. I'm disappointed with the government's approach. Yes, we should limit gun licenses, but why not have harsher summary mandatory sentences of 10 years imprisonment for possession of guns or ammunition? If they are minors, house them in a juvenile jail for the entire duration, teach them a trade, and fine their parents. That means track down the daddy, too. If the offender is an adult, throw the whole library at them. We are playing. This person says, in my opinion, since we've had a myriad of people shopping online, I strongly suspect that a number of firearms may be concealed in packages or containers. Okay. Dwight, it's unfair for only the criminals and police to have guns when most are criminals. What? Innocent civilians can't protect themselves. The caller is correct. These laws are aimed at the innocent. Boy, okay. There's a thing called school, BTVI, and free education at UB. That's available to all men. Education and skills are the best path to advancement. But if you want to smoke marijuana and sleep, you can't take advantage of the opportunities right in front of you. And this person says, that is genius. If innocent civilians had guns and shot someone, you can trace because their license. So what is the problem? They only want the criminals and police who are criminals to have guns. That's the problem, okay? Continue to call in, 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Let's take this call before we have to take a break. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Dwight. It's Alan again.
Hi.
Dwight, you know what the problem is, right? Our leaders believe they should rule over us rather than engaging us and having a conversation as to what's now, what's new, and what's next. As long as guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns. Let's use an example. This is how they pass law without giving it thought. You know, remember the one where it says, we are passing a law now where a judge could hear your case only if you decide that you don't want a jury. But the person comes and says, well, the reason we're doing that is so we could find you guilty sooner. Because if you choose not to have the case, to have a judge hear your case, your case will run on for about 4 to 5 years. Witness memories would fade. We would lose evidence and everything else. And it's a high possibility that you will get away with your crime. Now, sir, would you like to have a judge find you guilty immediately, or would you like to just wait on the jury? What do you think the criminal will do? What do you think the lawyer will recommend for his client to do if his job is to get him off? These are useless laws. What we need to do is get to the root of the problem rather than these prescriptive drugs or prescriptive remedies for the symptoms. That's the conversation we need to have. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. All right. Boy, we're going to leave it there. We're going to see what comes out of this one. Again, not knocking it entirely. I'm just saying I'm not sure I see the difference is going to make. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, when we come back, it's going to be interesting, folks. As I told you earlier, Haitian Flag Day over the week coming up this weekend, and we're going to talk about the history of Haiti. When we get back, that's going to lead us into business as well. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us.
Wendy's, we are different. We don't just use beef, it's fresh, never frozen. Our burgers are square because we never cut corners. Served hot off the grill with fresh lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and American cheese. We believe in fast food done right. Always serving fresh, never frozen beef. Order a hot, juicy Dave single, double, or triple. Made with fresh, never frozen beef. Now only at Wendy's. Different inside and out.
Don't shop at Sherwin-Williams then. Don't get the best service in the Bahamas then.
The love is really, really strong in Sherwin-Williams. We don't just sell paint. We service you with a smile, good hearts, mind, soul, and body. And we love our customers as much as we love ourselves.
Yes. Real talk.
I'm not just saying this
Real talk.
to impress myself.
We love to go beyond with customer service. So they feel delighted to come in Sherwin-Williams because they know I can either see Dee Dee, or I can see Shelly, or one of our other wonderful staff members. We treat our customers with the respect of our boss because there are many paint companies they could choose to go to. No, baby. If they go to some other paint companies, so I gonna get this little thing at the end of the week.
We want to make sure you get that little ting, Shelley. Come visit Shelley and Dee Dee at Sherwin-Williams, Bahamas, and you'll surely find color in every day.
Are you a business owner or HR professional? RF's team of pension specialists are here to empower your employees with market-leading retirement solutions and to make implementing group pensions easy and cost-effective. With RF, starting or switching your company pension plan is a breeze, and there are no setup fees. If you're looking for strong investment performance and low fees, visit rfgroup.com/empower and empower your team to retire comfortably with RF Group Pensions today. That's rfgroup.com/empower.
Take some advice from your Aunt Angie. If you're going to invest in an exotic pet, choose anything but a Norwegian forest cat. Apparently, they will eat all your jewelry. Before you know it, you're racing to the vet when your cat escapes from his carrier and lunges for your earrings. You crash and your cat swallows your pearls. But if you're smart, you'll have CG Motor Insurance and get the best comprehensive coverage for the price.
Get the best comprehensive coverage for the price. CG Atlantic Insurance Agents and Brokers. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
Here in the Bahamas, we love our food. From savory comforters to refreshing coconut water, our cuisine reflects our vibrant culture and abundant natural resources. But as our population grows, ensuring food sustainability is more critical than ever. By supporting local farmers and fishers, let's honor our traditions, protect our environment, and ensure that the flavors of our Bahamas endure for future generations.
Food security is in our hands.
RBC.
Is a bit for all of you.
Life is full of twists, turns, and defining moments that create your own unique story. However your story unfolds, we're here to help guide you through it. From every big decision to every new adventure, RBC.
Is a bit for all of you.
Visit rbc.com/Caribbean/all-of-you.
Living with a neurological condition shouldn't define you. At Cleveland Clinic in Florida, we do whatever it takes to make life better today while discovering new treatments for a brighter tomorrow. From epilepsy management to specialized spine care and brain tumor surgery, we're delivering world-class neurology care for the day-to-day, for the days you live for every care in the world. Visit clevelandclinicflorida.org/Caribbean.
Here's to the go-getters, the early risers, and the late-night dreamers. You, the visionaries, painting futures in your mind, in your studio, your office, your sacred space. Here's to the adventurers, explorers of every realm. To you, the innovators, turning the cogs of progress. In a world where connection is a lifeline, a pathway to possibilities. Alive is the perfect connection for everyone, every lifestyle. Every day.
Visit BeAlive.com today.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning and welcome to a special edition of Morning Blend Business on this Friday, May 17th, 2024. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan, and I told you yesterday, some of you are going to be angry. You don't like to talk about this at all. Going to get a lot of hate text messages and the, what do y'all call me? The bleeding heart for the immigrants. Anyway. Okay, but Haitian Flag Day is coming up, and I've been wanting to do this for a while. Because you hear a lot of misinformation. People have some very odd theories and have a lot of strange things to say about Haiti. We want to talk about the facts, the history of Haiti. Very pleased to have with us to guide us through this conversation, historian Christopher Davis, also known as John Canoe II. Good morning, sir. Great to have you with us, as always.
Yes, man. Always a pleasure. And, I'm eternally grateful to you for having me on, giving me a platform.
Appreciate it. All right, so let's get into it. Haiti. Let's start from as far back as we can go, and get through as much as we can into the 20th century to explain why it is where it is, and the so many challenges it's faced during its existence.
Oh yeah, certainly. Well, as the Bahamas is kind of the front lines of colonization when Columbus and all the conquistadors that followed came through, Hispaniola, present-day Haiti and Dominican Republic, was actually the place where they first settled. So just a little interesting snippet that ties in the Bahamas, and I'll be doing that a lot. But I'll go through it as much as I can so that we could touch on other topics, But essentially, Columbus and those established their first settlement in Navidad in present-day Haiti. That settlement was actually destroyed by a great king named Coonabo, who we believe was born in either Auckland or Long Island, who was the wife of Ano Coano, who was the great queen of present-day, at that time, Hispaniola, who fought and resisted Columbus and who paid dearly for it. And many of those diverse groups in Hispaniola, as in the Bahamas, went extinct. And
These
so they
were Caribs, or what were they?
They were actually a mixture. You had Maguas and all of them, but they were basically Tainos. But you also did have Carib, more properly Kalinagos, who were there as well, particularly in the Bay of Arrows. Those were Kalinagos, and this is why you hear all of these crazy stories about them being cannibals and all of that they did to justify that. So you have hundreds of years. As a matter of fact, the first Africans ever enslaved in the Western Hemisphere in context of European colonization were in 1503, right on the island of Hispaniola, present-day Haiti.
Not in what is the United States.
No.
Hispaniola first.
Yeah, was the first, 1503, documented, right? Now, I guess peruse over some of it. I don't want to negate what happened there, but essentially these were many genocides, and many of us that I think are familiar with, we just don't know that this was happening in what was Haiti today. Then, of course, in the mid to early 1700s, the French really sunk their claws in there and became a colony. And by this time, the transatlantic slave trade was already going. Certain nations draw from certain areas. And ironically, in what is now Haiti, was, I don't like to compare and say, of course, slavery was any bad or worse than any other space, right? However, in Haiti, it got to a point where life expectancy for an enslaved person in Haiti was between 3 and 7 years. Wow. Because the French and the British and the Spanish were involved in this too. They developed a program on mostly sugar plantations where they're also producing rum, where it's more profitable to just bring an African and work them to death. So this is the trauma that we're really talking about.
So now, like a machine.
Right, but it's also important to note that since the very beginning of this happening, Haitians resisted. Or the people we call Haitians today, I should say, resisted this in the most profound ways. And Haiti also always had a very high African demographic, or African-born demographic, I should say. So because you're born in the Bahamas or born in Haiti don't mean that you're not African. But when you were born in Africa and not born into slavery, it was a completely different game. So just to skip ahead for 2 seconds.
And that was because they were running through them so quickly, I guess.
Exactly, right, yeah. And now to skip through, fast forward to 1808 real quickly, when the British abolished the slave trade. I would say that the main reason for that, and other European nations following and abolishing the transatlantic slave trade, was because the success of the Haitian Revolution showed them that, well, if you bring too many Africans and the African-born demographic is too high, and you don't have people who are molded to be slaves in our colony from their born, and that's that. Now, so in the early 1700s, you see all these maroon communities popping up. And even in Haiti, you have a lot of misinformation and a lot of irrational fears surrounding people who should be viewed as heroes. Now, Markandal was one of those people. He was born in an area known as Mayombe. I don't have time to get into this. Maybe I sure someone might bring it up, so maybe later in the show I could explain it deeper. But Markandal was a master medicine man. And he is considered one of the original quote-unquote voodoo priests in there. But people have to understand that a lot of this terminology from the European perspective, for example, in the Bahamas, they would see you boiling sorcy and say you're doing voodoo or obeah, right? And these things that we do in practice that have completely scientific and medicinal, strength with us today. Now, Markandal used his knowledge of plants and all of these things to actually convince the French that he was immortal. He had a horrible life. He was his slave master's son pushed him into a sugarcane press when he was young. And the Haitian 10-gourd coin has a one-armed man with the cutlass on it. That's actually Markandal. Yeah.
So he lost his arm?
Yeah,
in that,
right.
Wow.
Now, the amazing thing about Markandal, and this was like the prelude, we're talking about the mid-1700s to what became known as the Haitian Revolution. And he was like the predominant Maroon leader at the time. And he used the psychological warfare, this misunderstanding of African culture on the whole, greatly to his advantage. I don't think anybody was successful except for maybe arguably Queen Nanny in Jamaica, who ironically was operating just before his prime, right? Now, when he was actually caught by the French, they wanted to burn him and kill him in front of everybody. And then Markandal said, there's two versions of the story. One version, I'll give you the mythical one, the one that's obviously mythical. And it says that he didn't, in fact, die, but he turned himself into a mosquito. The other story says that before he died, he proclaimed to his people that, fear not, my people, I will return as a mosquito to do far more damage. Now, this, remember, in the mid-1700s, what he was talking about was malaria and yellow fever. More than 150 years before Europeans even realized that these diseases were caused by mosquitoes. You see, the place where Markandal was from, Mayombe, they didn't even use jails and prisons. They actually completely policed themselves with psychoanalytic drugs, the same way we do today in modern society. You understand? And this is where things like zombification came from. This is what so many of the misunderstandings come from. It's actually based in Congolese science. But these things are not called science in Africa. They're called witchcraft, right? Now, fast forwarding to the Haitian Revolution, and I know people can talk about this. This is where you have so many myths. You have to remember what, in fact, these people were going through. And not to negate the will and resolve of these people, but the Haitian Revolution was literally like a necessity. I challenge anyone to go on and read, actually. It's something called Bookman's Prayer by Bookman Dada, who was the man that led it. And then you have a woman named Cecile Fatima, right? And I can get back to those names as well.
Okay.
Now, they were the ones that led the service on August 14th of 1791 at Bois Cayman. It just means like Cayman River, like it's like a small alligator, Cayman River, right? And this was in the north of Haiti, right close to Inagua and Turks and Caicos Island, right there. You understand? And in Bookman's Prayer, he essentially said, the God of the wind and the sun, the God that rules all of us, that made everyone in mankind, orders you to rise up, paraphrasing, of course, against your enslavers. You understand? And what people don't know, despite them portraying it as this wholesale slaughter of whites, you have incidences, for example, with the Polish troops who came down with Napoleon. And when the Polish saw how degraded these Haitians were, and a lot of them were staunch Christians, right? And so when they saw how degraded it is, like, hold on, the Haitians are not the bad guys, they're the good guys. And to this day, you have Polish towns with Polish names, because of the relationship the Polish had with Haiti. So this was not a wholesale slaughter of whites. And you have records as well as Frenchmen who could do a good American or British accent getting by claiming they was one of these. But the British and the Spanish were also involved. Now, this brings us, but I can talk about how the Bahamas was related, I guess, in another section, right?
So before you go on, so at this point in Haiti and their economy, how important was this to France and in the grand scheme of things for the Western Hemisphere? What did Haiti mean?
Certainly. So Haiti was wealthier than the United States. As a matter of fact, people argue that Haiti was wealthier and then all of the Caribbean colonies put together, including Barbados, Jamaica, Bahamas, Trinidad, even Guyana.
Wow.
You know, so these are some of the things that you see out there. But what is known that Haiti was the richest colony. They used to call it the Pearl of the Antilles, and this was based on the amount of enslaved Africans viewed as property, as well as the production on their very harsh plantations and the value of sugar and rum at the time as well. Haiti was so valuable, as a matter of fact, that since Haiti defeated France in their war of independence, France has never again regained their global status as a, say, top 5 global power, whether economically, militarily, however you want to look at it. And as a matter of fact, people love to tout Napoleon Bonaparte as this undefeated general. And every time I see that online, I always just drop one little comment, say, well, he was not undefeated, actually. Jean-Jacques Dessalines was the man who defeated him. The revolution was initially led by Toussaint Louverture. His name means the one who has the power of all the saints.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, the story goes that Toussaint Louverture, during the service at Bois Carmen, which was a very African service, because he was a Catholic, he actually removed himself from the ceremony, right? However, here you have all these myths about the horrors and the witchcraft and the devilishness of the Haitian Revolution, yet it was led by a staunch Catholic for most of the time, right? And as a matter of fact, Bookman Dada was called Bookman because he carried around the Quran, and he actually had burn scars all over his body because he was thrown into a fire and there was an imprint of this book on his chest, and he was holding the Quran. And Cecile Fatima, anyone who knows Fatima, I believe she's the daughter or the niece of Muhammad. You understand? And so these were Muslims.
Wow.
You understand? So Muslims who, of course, were also African. So I find it strange that all of these negative connotations are attached to it when the two people that led the ceremony were, in fact, Muslims. Right? Now, Dessalines, my favorite, I love this man so much. He is arguably one of the most undersung heroes. He was the one that actually won the revolution. Toussaint Louverture was actually a French officer at one point who turned and started to fight on behalf of his people. It was a quite complex war, actually. It was a war on many fronts, and we can get into that later in the show.
So black people were fighting for France. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, France, and there were certain people that rose to that station. Toussaint Louverture was one of them.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, in most profound, especially successful slave revolts, most or probably half, you would notice that the more proverbially privileged blacks. So Nat Turner, for example, was a chariot driver and a preacher. He was not a field slave. Dick DeVoe in Kid Island was the driver of that plantation.
Wow.
Matilda in St. Salvador, the woman who led a slave revolt in the Bahamas, she was the cook. You understand? So, and then, of course, Toussaint Louverture was also a well-educated, and he was still enslaved, and then he ended up buying his freedom as a young man, right? And then he rose to be the proverbial leader. Now, one of the reasons Toussaint is kind of put on a pedestal above Dessalines is because Dessalines and Toussaint, though they made this perfect partnership, and Toussaint was his mentor, particularly in military strategy. Both of them, in my opinion, though, were geniuses, particularly Toussaint Louverture, and Dessalines, at the very least, was a military genius. Now, this is where we come into Haitian Flag Day. It was clear that the war was won, and Europeans refused to recognize Haiti. As a matter of fact, some of them took more than 100 years to even recognize Haiti. This goes into one of the reasons why Haiti is so poor today, right? And when Dessalines was trying to negotiate, okay, y'all lose now, and they lost, by the way, Haitian blacks lost 1/3 of their population in a war that lasted 14 years.
14.
The greatest sacrifice. This is what led to emancipation for Africans all over. Regardless of the politics, we know emancipation wasn't fully, and all the stuff they did, but it was the end of chattel slavery, blacks being viewed as property. That is what spurred that. If you had to pick one event that was the most influential, it was indeed the Haitian Revolution, okay? And in his typical rage, he was known for his temper, and he was enraged that these people still refusing to talk to him, even though they have clearly won this war. They didn't want to acknowledge the loss.
It's Dessalines.
Yeah, Dessalines. So what he did is he went up to the French flag, and he tore the white out of the French flag. And a woman named Catherine Fawn sewed it together. And if you notice, the first Haitian flag is red and blue because Dessalines tore the white out, and that's Cecilia Fatiman sewed it together. So Haitian Flag Day for the entire African diaspora. And this would make Haiti the first Black republic. The Bahamas almost became the first Black republic, but we can get into that later in the show, right? Now, after France lost this war, this is what led to the Louisiana Purchase, known as the best deal in history, yada, yada, ray, when they had to sell all the entirety of what is the Midwest today and more to the United States for about $15 million. Think about that.
Wow.
Talking about, I think, over a dozen states for $15 million. You have property in Life Key right now costs that much, right? So that is the effect that it had on the global economy, the shape of the world.
And why did they sell it?
They sold it because of the economic turmoil. You know, France was the lifeblood, not even just of France. Everyone in Europe felt the loss of Haiti, right? Even, you know, Queen Victoria, for example, was a woman who put 18 to 20 sugars in her tea. So she felt that too. You understand what I'm saying? So it caused the price of sugar to go up, all of these things, and it really had a massive impact.
So France was hurting pretty badly.
Oh, yeah, and it certainly impacted the Bahamas. It impacted the other French colonies. So even like Guadeloupe, Martinique, they gained their freedom in working in tandem with the Haitian Revolution. There were attempts in the Bahamas. There were attempts in Cuba. This galvanized.
Because word was spreading.
Exactly. And this is what was so fearful, and this is what led, again, as I mentioned earlier, to them saying, well, we got to start bringing these fresh Africans from Africa, and we got to let them have children and encourage them to have children, something that is unfortunately sometimes displayed as benevolence. Using William Wiley at Clifton Heritage Park where I work, you know, you have people who said that he was a benevolent slave master because he allowed enslaved people to marry. And then when you look at some of these marriages, you have a 19-year-old girl marrying a 45-year-old man. You know, so a lot of funny business was going on, right? But back to the Haitian Revolution. So after this now, you had Dessalines, he was assassinated. Then Henri Christophe. Now there are actually dozens of
Who assassinated Dessalines? Do we know?
Well, it was a French European-backed thing, and because the war was so long, you had so many different factions that was going on. So you also had a mulatto faction. You know, the race in Haiti was quite different. While in the zenith of the Haitian Revolution, the mulattoes, so-called mulattoes, and the blacks were fighting together. In the English-speaking world, we kind of don't decipher mulatto and black. You understand? So if you half white, half black, we just say, well, you black.
Right.
And it's even exuded culturally for the most part. You understand? But in France, they had at one point over 100 gradations of race. Mameluke and all of these things had to do with if your Grammy half black, and then one of your great-grandfathers, like a quarter black, like literally over 100 different gradations of race that all had to do with the drops of African blood that you possess.
And so each one of them had different power, different stations.
Exactly, you know, and that's what actually began to happen. It was the mulattoes, and many of them virtually all of them had French fathers. So you had a man, for example, named Alexander Pétion, who was a very hotly debated figure in Haitian history. So from one side, Alexander Pétion worked very closely with Simon Bolivar. Now back to Henri Christophe. Now Henri Christophe was the one who spurred this international push for freedom. This is when they declared, if you black and you enslaved, come to Haiti and you free one time, no questions asked, no bunch of paperwork, no working for 15 years on a slave plantation like they did to the so-called liberated Africans in the Bahamas that they lied us and say the British freed.
How would that word have gotten out to the other colonies and other parts of the world?
I'm so happy you asked that question. So because they had such a large enslaved population, a lot of people bought enslaved people from there, including Bahamian slave masters. That's number one.
Right.
Number two, during the Haitian Revolution, which lasted 14 years, up until 1795, Bahamian wreckers, pirates, if you will, they were sacking French ships. So, and that's how people like Stephen Dillett came to the Bahamas, right, with his mother Hester Argo. So it's strange, and this lets me segue, if you don't mind, into what I see as the origins of Haitian xenophobia. So when this revolution started, Britain got involved and said they wanted a peace because, of course, this was the richest colony.
Right.
The main player was France, but of course Spain and Britain were also involved. Britain's enclave was actually in a place called Mole St. Nicholas, which is the northwestern extremity of Haiti. Long story short, by April 1795, the British didn't last long. They were already defeated.
Wow.
Defeated, and they burned the entire British city to the ground, ashes. You could have seen those fires from Managua and from Turks and Caicos Island.
My goodness.
Or the glow in the sky from the fires, I should say. You understand? This is how extreme it was. Now, from late 1780s up until that point, you know what was happening? All these people in Crooked Island and Cat Island and Andros, all over the Bahamas. So wherever island you're from, just know we mix up with them heavy because of this reason right here. And they were sacking these French ships, because remember, Britain and France were enemies, right? And French ships going through with their property, which included enslaved people. And they would sack them, and then they would absorb all of these people into the slave population, and some of them made it into the free black population, as seen with Stephen Dillard, even though that was a few years later, right? Now, all of a sudden, now they say, well, mother sick, this revolution, serious, they just defeat the British, what is going on here?
Right.
And then they say, well, mother sick, but we have all these fellas here. And I pinpoint the origins of Haitian xenophobia in the Bahamas to April 1795. Because that was when the British was defeated, and all of a sudden they say, mother sick, these people, they coming to take over.
Right.
And then lo and behold, in 1797, you had a consortium of both French Negroes and Bahamian ones who were already here, as they call them, the French Negro plot. That's why I used the term just now. They came together and planned an all-out revolution in the Bahamas.
1797.
Almost a full decade before the revolution was over. If they were successful, the Bahamas would have been the first black republic.
Wow.
You know, and 5 people were executed for it. Just to call some of the names off the top of my head, you had Tucker, Edgecombe, you had a Baptiste in there too, and a Lockhart. Tucker, Edgecombe, Lockhart, those are quote-unquote Bahamian names, if I'm not mistaken. So even though they tried to blame it all on these Haitian people, and by the way, when they caught them in Delancey Town, renting a house from a man named Stephen Rogers, who was...
so right here in New Providence.
Right here in New Providence. And it was a woman who they believe was the leader, but the woman was never named. There was some talk of her being pregnant, and that's why she wasn't executed. But the 8 main players in this revolution that was planned were captured. 5 of them were executed. 3 were exported. And that would have been the only time that Fort Charlotte saw any action, because their plan was to partner with the Maroons who were living in the center of this island. I speak extensively about that in my book, 2 chapters dedicated to Maroonage in the Bahamas. And we had, at that time, a considerable amount of Maroons living in there. Some of them were Africans that defected from the British Navy. Some of them were runaway slaves, just like Jamaica, just like Haiti. We had, although on a much smaller scale, we had Maroons. And their goal was to attack simultaneously with the Maroons Fort Fincastle and Fort Charlotte. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. They tell us we never fight for our freedom, right? And here we are partnering with the ultimate freedom fighters, of course. And, you know, bringing it to today, if we understand some of these things, it kind of helps us to view even Haitian migrants, whether documented or undocumented, differently. I think if we were fully immersed in our history now, not the history of Haiti, but in our own history, in our own genealogy, if we were really fully immersed in these things and taught these things, some of these attitudes exude. But I would say, however, that the very over-the-top xenophobic attitudes are in the minority, but there is still a general...
I wonder.
Yeah, well, I talking about, I don't call no names, but you know what I talking about. I talking about the people who will call your show in tears, talking about, I'm not even convinced about the main thing that people say about them using up all of our resources. I'm actually not convinced about that, because I don't think the majority that are here are undocumented. There are thousands upon thousands who are documented, and every year they have to pay thousands of dollars to NIB. Thousands. You see, so, and I'm sure that if anyone from NIB, if you ever have someone ask them about that, I wonder how much payments of all immigrants and the money that goes to NIB today. I want to see some of those figures so that we could really understand the facts behind this so-called incidence of drainage of resources. And there's also a myth floating around that some of these Asian students is the one keeping our GPA up, even though it's still low.
Oh, boy, you're going to cause
but let me
pitchforks
stop.
to be
Let me
outside when we get out of the studio. All right, so expand on the British spreading the xenophobia and the myths about Haitians.
Right. So when after this happened and after they defeated the British in Haiti, they actually passed by law the banning of French Negroes. Oh wow! Yeah, you see certain parallels popping up, right? And so essentially, many of us, unfortunately, in many walks of life, have adopted the sentiments of our enslaver/colonizer. And this xenophobia that we have is a part of that. And so again, there was this widespread fear of Haitians taking over from April 1795. And then during that time, they decided to ban French Negroes. Some of the French immigrants that came with the enslaved people, some of them were being ostracized by the Loyalists and the whites that were here even before the Loyalists. So it was a lot of this politics going on where even whites, so great example would actually be Stephen Dillard, who was always ostracized by the proverbial white political class, right? We found this picture of Stephen Dillard, you could Google it. And today in the Bahamas, Stephen Dillard would be considered white, unequivocally, unquestionably. But because they knew he had African ancestry, and then of course added to that, he was from a French colony, a Frenchman, probably spoke with a French accent, and all of these things, right? Well, maybe not, but because he came in when he's really young, but you get it. And Stephen Dillard was a tailor. He was one of three of the first black men elected to Parliament. Goodman's Bay is named after his half brother. You have Montel Heights, which is named after not a man to be celebrated, but a slave master. His name was Francis Montel, and he was another immigrant coming up from Haiti. And he was the one, Francis Montel, who was involved in the kind of punishing and rehashing of when what they call the French Negro plot. You understand? Because he apparently he was connected to it in some way, and apparently it was an unnamed enslaved person that belonged to him that caught wind of the plot and then told him, and then he was the one that took it to Parliament. You understand? And so you had all of this hysteria bubbling up, and then it in fact became true.
Yeah.
Now there are one or two historians that say it literally wasn't true. The hysteria was just that crazy that they accused these people of trying to do this. But whatever your view, the Haitian xenophobia is there. And I think even the latter theory is more sinister in a weird way, because if they were completely innocent and 5 people were executed for it, it tells you the level of hysteria that was going on at the time. And a hysteria that unfortunately is still displayed sometimes today.
And that wasn't just in the Bahamas.
No, this was everywhere. This was everywhere.
Everywhere that had slaves in the Western Hemisphere, they were spreading these types of thoughts about Haitians.
And freedom and all of these things. This is why these European nations did not recognize Haiti. The U.S. didn't do it until they ended slavery in 1865, literally.
Wow.
Like that, I think it was like that same month they ended slavery. They say, okay, yeah, we can recognize you now. So not to laugh, but if you don't laugh, you will cry.
And so I guess voodoo talks about voodoo and that they would have been spreading around a lot then too.
Certainly, all of these things, But what people don't understand is, as the Haitians had "quote unquote" voodoo, Bahamians have obia, and those are actually quite complex things because Africa is extremely diverse, and they called it voodoo in these French colonies. You understand? But what voodoo was in northern Haiti wasn't the same as what it was in Port-au-Prince. It had a lot to do with people coming from these different areas in Africa. I don't want to dwell too much on this topic because I know that's when things could really get crazy.
Yeah.
However, I will say that, we are a Christian nation, and most of us, the vast majority of us are Christians, right? But we respect religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, other religions that also do things that are unpalatable to us that would be deemed anti-Christian based on their moral standards. Yet we don't view certain sects of Hinduism as inherently evil. You understand? And so I would just say to people, regardless of your belief, is that you should respect every religion, regardless of where it comes from. And there's this crazy idea that West African religion in itself is inherently evil and of the devil, despite the fact that these people are the victims of the worst genocides ever. I do not understand how you have one group of people raping, enslaving, slaughtering people, and those people and their religion are inherently evil. It makes absolutely no sense. And that's where we as a people have to have a morality check.
We're talking with historian Christopher Davis. All right, so let's talk about why was it important for Haiti to be recognized? Why do they want to be recognized by the rest of the world, especially the Europeans? Why was that?
To acknowledge the loss, and it's propaganda that still happens today. Like I say, people still say that Napoleon Bonaparte is an undefeated general when he, in fact, is not. He had a resounding loss, a resounding and embarrassing loss. And even on his deathbed, he was like, one of his greatest regrets was not listening to Toussaint when he had the chance, because Toussaint was being very diplomatic. Then when Toussaint went, there was no one to control Dessalines, and he was in play, and it was vengeance time for him. Now, there's so many different aspects to how it was demonized. That lack of acknowledgement was extremely important in the European political arena. Because remember, all of these people had enslaved colonies, even the Danish and the Swedish, the Germans, all of them had slave colonies in the Americas. Almost everyone in Western Europe was involved in it. You even had Italians who were slave owners in the Bahamas. The Scavella family, just to throw one out there. You understand? Wow. Yeah, from Juan Scavella, who came from, I think it was Messina, Italy. And he came to Crooked Island, see how much money these people was making and how much free access they had to all of these African women, and he decided to stay, So this is something that people don't realize. So the world had to deny the success of the Haitian Revolution, and as a matter of fact, after the success of the Haitian Revolution and Alexander Pétion, so this is why I lean a little slightly more to saying that I don't see this guy as a part of those revolutionary leaders. He's barely, because he was the one that paid France the over $22 billion or so in reparations. So think about it. They won the war, freed themselves from slavery, and then all of Europe ganged up on Haiti and forced them to pay reparations to France. And Alexander Pétion, he had some hang-ups, because his father was French. And his father apparently used to be very manipulative and abusive with him, and he would play both sides, and so he had his own confusion going on where, yes, he certainly did have a level of compassion for his people and for the struggle for freedom in the Americas. But in hindsight, some of the political decisions he made was absolutely horrible, and Haitians still suffer from some of those decisions to this day, in my opinion, right? And so these are some of the things that happened. Belgium, everybody, they were circling Haiti with warships.
Tell us about that. Why did they agree to pay the reparations?
Because they were forced to, essentially. They circled Haiti with warships. You could only export, you cannot import. So this is why a lot of Haiti is very barren, because they were so desperate. They had to cut down anything they could do to make money. They were completely excluded from the global economy. The famous embargo that we see happening in certain nations in Latin America, like Cuba, Venezuela, that's nothing compared to what the Haitians have been going through.
So nobody wanted to trade with them. Nobody wanted to do anything with them.
Well, people like the Bahamas traded with them. So much of our food, they literally fed the Bahamas. You could look at the ship records, look at the ships that came from Saint-Domingue in Haiti, and you will see that they were laden with mangoes, laden with all these different foods. And so that was one of the things they did.
So at the time for the Bahamas, most of our food was coming from them, not from the north. Is that right?
I don't know if I would say most, but because a lot of it was produced locally, but much of it, I would probably say, probably most.
Okay.
If you look at it, because there were a lot of ships coming in, and those ships that came in from Saint-Domingue, just brought a lot of produce. Now, people don't, and then so Haiti had a very tumultuous time during the 1800s. This is goes like completely unacknowledged, and every nation was playing a part in this, right? And there was always constant interference.
So who proposed the reparations?
France did.
France did.
And the group of European consortiums. And then at this
point... what was the ultimatum to Haiti? Pay this or what?
Pay this or we will invade you again. Haiti would have certainly lost that war.
Because
remember,
there have been many other countries.
Right, there was many other countries. They were also, remember, they lost a third of their population. That's like us fighting a war right now, and 125,000 of us die in this war. Like that is unfathomable. But we win, you see? So though it was a victory, it was probably on an individual level more sorrow.
Right.
Because so many people you would have known would have been taken out, then you would have found out. They were crippled by all of the things that were happening. All of these European countries, to make it very simple, were ganging up on Haiti for a very long time. And this is before the invasions by the United States. And the United States invaded. I mean, we see what they've done in the so-called Middle East. They occupied country for 2 years, and the country completely upside down. We see what's happening in Libya. They got rid of Gaddafi. Not to say that he was an angel or a saint, but he certainly had certain Pan-Africanist sentiments and all of that.
Yeah.
That he was more of a mixed bag, a complex figure.
Right.
But to unequivocally call him this evil, despotic leader is completely untrue. And it's seen in after he was assassinated, because Libya is in the worst state that it has ever been, and arguably outside of course, European colonization. But they're in the worst state that they're in now.
All right, so I want to get, before we get to the U.S., so during the 1800s, so they decide to pay
this reparations, right?
And that would mean they'd be recognized by most of the world.
Oh, yeah. And Haiti didn't finish paying that bill off until mid-1970s.
Again, what was the figure?
Somewhere around $22 billion.
My God.
I think it's like 21.6 or something like that. But it's around $22 billion, right? And they didn't finish paying that until the 1960s, 1970s.
And
right?
they didn't have all of that, right?
No. And see, this was money that would have gone into building public schools, money that would have gone into building irrigation systems, money would have been gone into building hospitals and all of these other things. And so this is what plunged Haiti, as they did in certain countries in Africa, into this kind of handout nation for everybody. Oh, we're going to go to Haiti to build it, and that's what put them in this abject poverty. And of course, but it's important to note that after the Haitian Revolution, they didn't just plunge into poverty. It took about a full generation for that to occur. After the revolution, Haiti, and ironically, one of the most difficult things the Haitian leaders faced, because one of the reasons they were so rich is because of their production. And of course, there was so much trauma from slavery, from working sugar plantations. But some of the Haitian leaders were like, they can try to do us in if we produce this sugar again, But it was, you couldn't get the people to go back to the sugar plantation.
Oh boy.
This is a conundrum that is faced in many struggles of African freedom, including the Bahamas. And people often blame politicians and stuff like that because, y'all let our agricultural industry fall down. No, our agricultural industry started with slavery, essentially, in the context of contemporary Bahamas, started with slavery. And then after that, we went into the truck and credit system. And see, we used to forget, on the family island, when your Grammy born on the same land that her ancestors were enslaved on, and they growing pineapples, and they got to pay Mr. So-and-so with the same pineapples they growing, and get paid with the same pineapples they growing. You get in debt, and you got to give them your land. You're supposed to give them 1 acre, and they take in 10. Come on, man, we know all these things was happening. So just like they couldn't get Haitians to go back to the sugarcane field, you couldn't get us to go back and farm on the family islands. You see, and people don't acknowledge that either. And it's not. And I'm not blaming the people, of course, because why would you want to go back to that? And we had this feeling of euphoria and this feeling of moving forward. Unfortunately, we were miseducated in thinking that these things were beneath us and all of these things, and so yeah.
So during the 1800s, after independence, things get a little complicated with the Dominican Republic side, right? Let's touch on that a bit before we get to the U.S.
So while that happened, now that was when when Alexander Pétion came into power, and Jean Boyer as well, he was another one. They actually had the entire island. And then when they were so weak...
Say that again, because I know a lot of people know this.
Yeah, they had the entire island.
Haiti...
Yeah, in 1820,
so they had the whole of Hispaniola.
The whole island.
Including the Spanish side.
And then the Spanish came and encroached on them, you see? And this is something where While I chastise us for our Haitian xenophobia, I have to also acknowledge that our Haitian xenophobia is like playing tag, you understand, compared to the Dominican Republic. The Dominican-Haitian border is one of the most militarized borders. And one of their leaders, one of the shames of Dominican Republic, despite him still being popular in some circles, was Trujillo, who was their president, who committed overt genocides on Haitian people. And to this day, you have all of these horror stories of Haitians being shot down and all of these things. But the history of Dominican Republic is inextricably linked to Haiti. And of course, that was more so a Spanish colony. And to this day, the Latin America, the so-called Latin America, the Spanish-speaking Caribbean, they still have a lot of those racial hang-ups, and they are, it's literally like an internet meme now. You understand, where you have black people from Latin America who say they're not black. You understand, right? Because they get one little curl in their hair, or whatever it is. But again, it speaks to the harshness of colonization. It's not to blame us, because one statement I hate is when people say, "Oh, we just do it to ourselves." It's like, no, we actually don't. Like, these powers are still very much present. They still control the world. They still, in many ways, even if they don't overtly have the same agenda, systematically it's set up for African nations to fail. There isn't a single African nation. This is why we love Botswana so much, but there isn't a single African nation that owns and controls their resources.
No.
There isn't a single African nation that does not have a pretty much all white upper class, you understand, that are far richer than the average people in that country. You name it, and they have it. You understand? And so these are all the vestiges of colonization, which is rooted in principles of white supremacy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's been so normalized that we in the Bahamas, we don't be checking no quote unquote expats for their status.
Well, we don't even call them immigrants.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. We call them expats.
Right.
But you could have a Haitian over here as a doctor, and they'll call him an immigrant. I mean, if we're being honest, you understand? And they wouldn't consider him an expat, even though, of course, he is.
But Haiti played a role in the Dominican attitude towards them, though. It wasn't as if they were innocent.
Well, depends on how you
victims
look
there.
at it, right? Depends on how you look at it, right? So, of course, from that time in the period that we were speaking about, the Spanish were involved in this war, and the Spanish lost as well. And then it was revenge time for the Spanish as they came in, and this is essentially the foundation of what we know as Dominican Republic today. There were skirmishes between the two, particularly when Haiti was much wealthier. But by the time the 20th century rolled around, the Dominican Republic, even Cuba and other areas of Latin America, certainly did more to harm Haiti. Now, of course, they have a huge influx of undocumented people trying to cross their border. So I guess from that context, people look at it like that. However, when you actually understand what's actually happening, and you understand how the world works, you will understand that the Haitians are not the villains in that situation whatsoever. And I'm not calling every Dominican citizen a villain either. But again, these are systematic vestiges of colonization where we just been conditioned to think these things, and unfortunately, it's just been so normalized, And of course, there's a huge racial element between the Dominican Republic and Haiti as well. As a matter of fact, I will go out on a limb and say this, and again, not talking about all people from Dominican Republic, but I went to a beach soccer tournament in 2008, representing the Bahamas in Dominican Republic, and there was a Haitian team there as well. And the Haitian team was off on the side. They wasn't staying in the same hotel. They was off on the side. They were not being treated the same at all by the organizers of that tournament. And I can say the name of the company and all of that, but and from then I was already a Pan-Africanist, and I was quite disturbed by that. And it was just so normalized. And these Latin American countries are highly racial. And the Portuguese ones like Brazil as well. They are highly racialized societies. And that is also what exacerbates the issues between them and Haiti.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, so as we get closer to the 20th century, things are getting progressively worse, I take it, with Haiti, challenge after challenge.
Right, so...
And still paying off
so
the reparations.
1915 and 1935, the U.S. invades and occupies.
Why did they do that?
Haiti. Make it simple. Y'all Negroes can't be trusted. We need to come here and make sure y'all governing yourselves properly, portraying it as philanthropy.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, y'all can't be trusted, so we can take your gold. And every ounce of gold that the Haitian government had during that period is now... according to certain scholars like Baina Bello in the United States Federal Reserve to this day. And then they have the nerve to make these documentaries like it's some curse over Haiti, why are they so poor? You know, and then again, this goes back to this myth of, oh, we just do it to ourselves. No, we don't. You know, why won't they give the gold back? And then you had numerous assassinated leaders of Haiti. Numerous. Now, let's get into the modern period. And you have the Cold War going on, right? So this was where communism was the worst. And everything else that was in communism was okay. And this was when the U.S. backed and supported a man by the name of Papa Doc Duvalier, who was an extremely shrewd leader, also very intelligent to his credit. His terror and turmoil, however, is often overplayed. Yes, he had the Tonton Makou and all of these different groups that terrorized the people. But when you look at, he's often included like these world's worst leaders and all this stuff. Barack Obama killed more Muslims, like 100 times, no exaggeration, 100 times more Muslims, Barack Obama during his tenure in the so-called Middle East. Then Papa Doc killed his citizens in Haiti, literally like 100 times more. But we don't view any U.S. president as this inherent, you know. So it all a part of this successful propaganda that actually came out of the U.S. Thing. So they swore that they saw zombies in Haiti and people flying. This is what actually spurred the American horror film industry in Hollywood. Night of the Living Dead, the brain-eating zombies, all of this foolishness. Come right out of Haiti, and all the Haitians get $1 for all of the millions of dollars they made off the horror industry, right?
Wow.
But Papa Doc, he was put there essentially by U.S. support, and by going against essentially the communist spirit that was rising up and bubbling up all over the world. And then his son also had the backing of the U.S. And then you have this propaganda of, oh, well, we just want Haiti to have free and fair elections. We want them to have free and fair elections. Then 1991, now here comes along Aristide. Aristide wins 67% of the vote. What you think the U.S. do? Invade Haiti and move him, because Aristide was saying, France, we need our money back. U.S., we need our gold back.
Wow.
That's the things that he was saying.
Yep.
You know, and there's this myth that, oh, y'all can't even govern your country. They do it to their own country. Look at them. They just burn everything down. Listen to me. The way that the spirit that we behave himself, how we is complaining over potholes, if we had half of what the Haitians had, we'd be burning things down too. I assure you of that. That is not a Haitian thing. That is a human thing. When people back against the wall, you do what you do to survive. And particularly Africans within the last 500 years, we haven't gotten anything done without radical action. Whether that's skipping work during the general strike, you understand, or having a full-on revolution like Kwame in 1734 in the Bahamas, or the so-called French Negro plot in 1797.
Wow. And since then, hurricanes, earthquakes, all manner of
so
horrible things.
Yeah, so Aristide got ousted by the U.S. in 1991 with 67% of the vote. He returned in 2004, I believe it was. Remember when Bush them invaded Haiti? That was to get Aristide out again. That time he won 90% of the vote. The so-called spreaders of democracy, we spreading this, we the leaders of the free world. A man get 90% of votes and they ousted him. Because again, he was saying the same thing. Then you have the infrastructural, the lack of infrastructure, I should say, in Haiti. The lack of solid buildings and all of these things that exacerbates things like hurricanes and earthquakes. Because you had an earthquake in Peru, you had earthquakes in California that were higher on the Richter scale than the earthquake in Haiti. And yet that killed like 250,000 people, something ridiculous like that. And that is because of their lack of infrastructure. And then you have people well, these famous, well-known people, these are cases that are known. So, like the Clinton Foundation, to throw one out there, who claim that they raising all this money for Haiti and for this Haitian aid. Literally billions of dollars they raising. And then they go into Haiti to build state-of-the-art soccer fields, state-of-the-art sports complexes in villages that don't have running water. And of course, who getting the contract? All the boys, all the American friends getting the contract to build these things. They playing the Haitians peanuts, you know. And now we hear today, Moises was assassinated the other day. Another guy who seemed to have been very popular with the people, you know. And it's funny that all these elected leaders are always assassinated by outsiders, you know. So I think that brings us up, though that's just perusing through, you know, like a real
very brief history.
Yeah.
We've got a couple calls. Let's see if we can get these really quickly because we're running out of time. Caller, good morning. You're on the air talking with Christopher Davis.
Thanks, Dwight.
Hi.
Listen up. My first name is Goodman. Cecil Wallace Whitfield died in the process of attempting, you know, to claim Goodman's Bay. I wish you can tell me a little bit more about the Goodman that came here along with his half brother, and how far back Goodman's Bay went from Goodman's Bay, because he was farming on that bay.
Right.
Can you just tell me real quickly how far back it went and more about the Goodman, his daddy and stuff like that?
So we talking about when Stephen Dillard and his brothers arrived. We talking about, I believe it was 1803 or 1804 to pinpoint it, right at the end of the Haitian Revolution. Actually, that's why they left and came here, right? His brother Goodman was Hester Argo's other son, but they had a different father.
Wow.
And Goodman, he is the one who acquired the land around, I forget what that road name, but you know where like the Nautica, I think it's called Nautica, like the complex of condos right there on that street going into White Grove, right?
Seaview.
Going towards Dolphin Drive and those areas, I think. Yeah, so he bought that. So in his adult life, that was when he rose to kind of this economic prominence. I have newspaper ads too. I believe what he was growing was actually coconuts. And that's why they call it the Grove.
Okay.
Right. And then you have Coconut Grove, all of these different things. Grove is usually connected to oranges or coconuts. So you have Golden Grove, Kid Island, that was like oranges. And then you have Coconut Grove that we know we have around the island. I haven't done as extensive research on him as I've done on others, but I know that Goodman's Bay, in fact, is named after him. A lot of people don't know that he was a man from Haiti, and he was another one of those people, you know. These were complex characters. So, for example, Stephen Dillard at one point owned 14 slaves. However, there was all sorts of funny things going on. That's what people don't realize. And with a lot of these slave owners, when you actually dig deeper, you find black and mulatto slave owners in the Bahamas. You find out that quote-unquote slave woman that he have is actually his brother, girlfriend, or wife. You know, and you have many records when you study the slave register of blacks, for example, a man last name Rutherford. He was James Rutherford, connected to the Wiley plantation. Some of them were quote unquote buying slaves and freeing and emancipating them right away. And when you look at the Book of Manumissions, you see things like bequests and freed by her father, freed by their mother, freed by, you know, all of these things. And then you even had the odd case of whites freeing their mulatto offspring with their enslaved people. Though most of them just enslaved their own offspring. Right. That's for another day.
Wow. All right, let's see if we can squeeze this call in. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Strong. Good morning,
Hi,
Chris.
really quickly.
Good morning.
Yeah, Chris, you know, I wanted to chime in because it's a one-way paradigm that you were painting. You know, I'm impressed with the history and the detailed knowledge, right? But as it relates to the war with the French general, I mean, it is said that he sent about 31,000 troops there. Yeah. So they said he had lost more troops in the war, in the Battle of Waterloo than in Haiti, right? So then it says that only 7,000, 8,000 troops survived, and it said that 80 to 85% of the troops were killed by malaria. But what I'm saying is maybe the mosquitoes did come back to help the general that you talk about, but the history is so deep and rich, right? I was hoping that you would have mentioned Charlemagne Peralta. So you had mentioned earlier the same scenario that happened to him, in which they publicly crucified a general. So they did the same thing with Peralta during their foster period from 1950 into 1935, right?
Right. That was during the U.S. occupation.
I was hoping in your revised edition you could put that in. But what I'm saying is, you also painted a picture. We must be mindful, and you reminded the public that there were miscegenated light-skinned Africans coming out of Africa because of the Muslim presence and the miscegenation that was taking place from there before they reached the New World. But the evidence is based on the fact that Haiti had the most slaves. So as far as wealth, I agree with everything what you were saying. But is there any evidence to prove that the Europeans are not lying as they lied to me in your history books with the narrative that the Caribs ate the Arawaks like bread, which is foolishness.
Yeah,
they also lied about cannibalism in Africa.
Yeah.
But these are the type of things I wanted to debunk, right? But the only thing I disagree with you is the xenophobia aspect. Because, I'm looking at practically, I'm not going to be blinded by history. But what I'm saying is if I put a shanty town in the middle of West Ridge or Life Key, would you call that xenophobia? We are looking at our rights as a people in imposition of the migrant crisis, and we're also looking at the repercussions of colonialism up to this day that created the isms and the schisms amongst the black people. And if the Haitian people are so wise and so smart, why are they still hating? We should be uniting, and they should have a flotilla to go to France. You see, Chris, I'm older than you, right? And I was reading a lot also. But I didn't do the research like you. I go down the scientific paradigm, right? But I appreciate you, brother. I'd like to know if I could get any of your books and logos, right? But we need a fair paradigm for the people because we know about the brainwashing of history by the British and all those people in European history. I mean, that's Chris, but we still have to be sincere on us and talk about us and the repercussions of slavery. And it is up to this day still going on.
Certainly.
You saw what they did to Somalia Butler. Oh, you shouldn't be upsetting the mass of them. And I would wish that you would spread the narrative because I want to stop using the term slave masters and I want to use oppressors or owners.
And slave
master really is sickening.
I don't ever say slave master.
I'd like to have a conversation with you, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay.
I say the slaver, not the slave master. I agree with you on most of the things you said there. However, I don't agree that there is the vitriol coming from the Haitian side towards Bahamians. For you to risk your life to leave your own country, you have to be in an extremely desperate situation. And remember, this is a human thing. This ain't a nationality thing. Furthermore, I am a Batavian and a Pan-Africanist. And this is exactly what he said about slavery doing a number on us. How the Bahamas, Haiti, Dominican Republic, we just discussed how these countries were formed. A good brother of mine, I ain't gonna call his name, I can call his alias Sunchild. Who know him. He has called us baby colonial nations, because this is what we were founded in. And your geopolitical loyalty does not trump your ethnicity, or to put it plainly, how God make you. Because if God come down now, proverbially speaking, he ain't gonna say you was a Bahamian, you was a Haitian. He can go probably more so by culture and ethnicity. That's how we can identify people, not by our man-made geopolitical loyalties.
Absolutely.
And furthermore to that, I don't see them having the vitriol towards us. It's actually the opposite. And I showed you how it was rooted in slavery and all of that. And I'll just give you one example. But from a young man, this was something I realized, that we do have a xenophobia, not just towards Haitians, towards all black people. I know a man personally from Ghana who was on the same flight as me coming down. Looks very African, very dark, high cheekbones, the looks that we don't like over here, you see? And he was physically assaulted and sent back home, but I can leave that one right there. You understand? Physically assaulted and sent back home. So we have a serious anti-African sentiment, which spills over to Haitians, you understand? Yeah. And last and certainly not least, I would agree with him in saying that the solution to this problem rests in the root of it, which is us working together with them to pressure France, pressure the U.S., pressure Canada, pressure Britain, pressure Spain, all of these nations that we know are at the root of their problems and continue to benefit from it to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to go, but I have to read a little piece of this text. This is insane, and wow. Dwight, what day do you discuss Bahamian history? We did a lot of that just now, right?
Yeah, we did.
And we always have you on, and we always talk about Bahamian history. Are your parents Bahamian? Secondly, did Columbus bring Haitians to the Bahamas? Why don't we speak Creole? I'm going to go through a lot of what they consider a lot here. And then this part was really wild. Haiti defeated Napoleon by dedicating their country to Satan via voodoo priestesses in 1917. Well, that doesn't add up.
1917.
That doesn't make sense there
1917.
at all. And then they reject what you said about ancestors coming from Haiti. None of my ancestors are from Haiti. And if we were, we would be speaking Creole. Think about it. That makes little sense.
Actually,
I mean,
absolutely
under sense.
no sense. I'm not going to even acknowledge that. dates wrong, concepts
Everything.
are wrong. We
Very
talked
sad.
about how the leaders of the ceremony were in fact Muslim. So if you want to be xenophobic, at least get your, your racism or whatever it is, right? You know what I mean?
We're
whatever.
well over
Yeah.
time. Chris,
Yeah.
thank you so much. A lot to
Pleasure.
think about. People do some more research. Read up on it if you can find the information.
And I'm at Clifton Heritage Park,
Yep.
so we encourage locals to come and visit. For those of us that love history, that same taxi right there should come to Clifton Heritage Park to learn about some Bahamian history and context.
Yeah.
Me, I get petty. I like to know your name and the island you're from, and I'll go trace your roots and then show you where you have our ancestor
Wow.
from Haiti. Many of us do, and in the 1790s, none of us have enough knowledge of our families, generally speaking, to even unequivocally make the statement that we don't have a drop of Haitian blood or Bahamian blood, even though there's no such thing, because it's all geopolitical loyalty.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you again, sir. Really appreciate it. And of course, you can pick up your book, Black Rinse, and read more about Bahamian and
And all of
Haitian
our
history
music
and how it's
available at
intertwined.
Pompey Museum, all of AMMC sites, as well as Clifton Heritage Park. Thank you.
The name, what? Say your name. It's Black Rinse. Say the full name.
Black Rinse, a new perspective on the history of the African diaspora in the Bahamas. What we were talking about just now was mostly in Chapter 9, which was dedicated between the relationship between Haiti and the Bahamas, but most of it is centered around the Bahamas as it relates to our surrounding areas. And you can come and see me at Clifton Heritage Park. Email me, christopher.davis.clifton@gmail.com.
Okay. And you're actually going to be back with us on Tuesday
Yes.
for something else.
Yes, and I on with CA at 11.
Well, look at that. All right. So you might as well just move into Guardian Radio. Aaron, thanks so much for the time. Sorry. We got to go to the